What's up, everybody? Welcome to the channel. We're about to get into this. Now, check this out, everybody. I did a video about this situation on my sports channel. It's called Prime Sports Media. I follow Colorado. I follow Coach Prime Deion Sanders and the players there. And I've been following Shedeur Sanders, his brothers, and the players at CU for quite some time. So I've got a video about this issue on that channel, but I go in strong on that video, okay? So check out that sports channel, Prime Sports Media. If you want to subscribe to that channel, hit the bell notification. I definitely appreciate it. Now, let me get into this video at hand. Everybody has various difference of opinions about Shedeur Sanders. Some feel that he didn't apport himself properly in terms of participating in the combine, doing well in his interviews with various NFL teams, blowing off some NFL teams that he felt that they wouldn't be there to draft him in the first place. There's a lot of innuendo about this situation. Of course, everyone keeps saying, oh, there are coaches in the NFL that said he's terrible, he's not this and that, when really the truth of the matter is there was one coach that came out, an assistant coach hiding behind anonymity for the Giants, who had something to say about Shedeur, okay? Now, let's get into this right now. I know people are going to say this isn't racism because, see, there's black quarterbacks in the NFL today, and they even drafted a black quarterback, one of his contemporaries, and Cam Ward. And many people felt that Shedeur was going to either go number 1 in this draft, number 2, somewhere in there, in that top 5 to top 10 of this draft. Nobody had any idea that he would slide to number 5. Damn it, I was shocked myself, okay? Because everything that people have read, everything has been said about Shedeur is that he was a no fire. He was a definitely a guy that was a no-win, a no-brainer, should I say, to be picked in that top 5. Now, you had, to be fair about this, not every team in the NFL, everybody, was looking to draft a quarterback. Not all 32 teams in the NFL. There was a handful of teams that clearly needed a quarterback. Obviously, it was Cleveland, who obviously drafted him in the 5th round, 144, and people were like, what the hell is going on here? Obviously, there were people like the Pittsburgh Steelers, thought that Pittsburgh would be the perfect fit for Shedeur. There were a lot of teams that could have used a quarterback. There are people saying that, hey, Shedeur is really not that good. That's why he went down to the 5th round of the draft, because they really see him as a backup. You had several teams like the Cleveland Browns, the Raiders, so many different teams that passed on Shedeur so many times around. Now, as you may know or may not know, in the NFL, if you want guaranteed money as a prospect, you need to get drafted in that 1st round for guaranteed money. Shedeur Sanders has lost between $30 and $40 million just being drafted in that 5th round. Then you say to yourself, what's going on? He gets drafted by Cleveland, but they draft a guy in the 3rd round, Gabriel, who, by all accounts, when you look at him from a scouting point of view, he's not better than Shedeur. So many people are saying, well, it's Shedeur, he had an attitude. Then people are sitting up here saying, well, no, it's Coach Prime, because Coach Prime was on podcasts talking about how, we might have to do an Eli Manning family because I don't want my son to play in certain places. Look, fathers are going to talk. They're going to say what they want to say. This has happened before in history, and I'm going to show you in this video that we got to realize that there is a double standard here. Not only with Shedeur Sanders, but how the league treated his father, Deion Sanders. Another thing I think is at play here is that Deion Sanders has turned football on its head across this country. Ever since he took over CU, they have been the talk of the town. I think people are having Deion Sanders fatigued because they were the talk of the town. Nobody was talking about the NFL. They were talking about Colorado in college football, Coach Prime, okay? Now, Coach Prime is also one of the first coaches in college football to embrace this thing called NIL, where players can now get paid at the college amateur level, right? I don't think the NFL in general is very happy about that. You know why? Because it gives these players, particularly the black players, more leverage than they ever had before. When you look at Shedeur, people call him cocky, people call him he's entitled. Look, he's part of a generation that's a social media generation. So what? He has a brand called Legendary. You've got coaches, by rumor, saying that, hey, why does he have this thing called Legendary? Why is he calling himself Legendary? Why is he on social media? All these damn players of this generation are on social media. It's what the Z generation is doing these days. Get over it, everybody. Get over it, okay? Now, you can say that the NFL, maybe it's old-fashioned. They're not with the time. But damn it, this is still a double standard. You've had many people come into the NFL and act the damn fool of the white counterpart, okay? Should I say Johnny Manziel? Remember, Johnny Manziel got himself caught up on camera, on social media, looked like he was getting high, smoke in the background. He had a brick of money in his hand, and he said, I can't hear you because I got this effing brick of money in my... He was intoxicated with liquor, and they still managed to draft him. And I'm going to get back to Johnny Manziel because I need to let you see his dirty deeds. Shedeur Sanders hasn't robbed anybody, doesn't have a history of being in and out of trouble with the police. Coach Prime has raised him to be a respectable young man. And I think the problem with the NFL, and I got to be honest, that they are used to black players, and this is no shade to black women that are single mothers, but I got to tell the truth. Tell the truth, okay? The NFL is used to dealing with black players, black male players who come from a single parent background, mainly a mama, okay? Their mama, right? And they're used to these players coming in with no money, being dirt poor, and being just happy to be drafted by the NFL and willing to apport themselves to do any and everything they want that guy to do. How high will I jump for your master? I'll jump, okay? How fast you want me to run for your master? I'll run. How great you want me to catch balls, master? I'll do so. So the NFL draft has always, in the combine, has always been almost like, I would say, a slave auction if you really break it down at its bare roots. And when you look at the football field with all those lines and grades and all those lines on it and numbers, one can make a statement that it parallels to a slave plantation because you're using the labor of black men who come from all these communities, making money off of them, right? And then these guys get drafted and they're like, I'm so happy to be here. My mom, I'm gonna buy her house. But then when you look at Shedeur Sanders, and he's a different beast, y'all. He comes from a strong family background, a father who played in the league at the highest level as a Hall of Fame defensive back, an all-time Super Bowl winning player and all great. And he has a father that can really hip him to the games that go down in the NFL. So now Shedeur comes in, where it's not like he needs the money. It's not like he needs to get on his knees and bend a knee because he comes from money and he has a certain swagger to him. And I think the NFL really doesn't like it because they're used to having the more upper hand when it comes to black players. The NFL, for all intents and purposes, as they have been drafting black quarterbacks over the last few drafts and even draft Cam Ward, which is Shedeur's contemporary, ahead of him, number 1 to Tennessee, it doesn't change the fact that the NFL, in a lot of cases, they don't give a damn about these black players in particular, and they have a history of their own racism. Let me educate you here because this is the Information Man show, and I always do what? Everybody say it loud and clear. I give you receipts. Check this out. The NFL race normally is a afterlife of slavery. I'm going to say this again. The NFL racist race is normalizing a afterlife of slavery. Statistical manipulation that underpaid black players in concussion settlements exemplifies that American football immerses itself in a legacy of slavery, meaning these guys, when these guys get concussions, the NFL doesn't give a damn about them. They really don't. You got to keep this in mind, okay? Another thing, let me put this up here, more receipts. The NFL ended a policy that assumed that black players had a low cognitive function. Did y'all remember that? They used to see black players, especially if you're a black quarterback, as having a low cognitive function, which denied them settlements for head injuries. So when these black players have gotten concussions, the NFL has had this type of protocol. This ain't like a long time ago, everybody. This article is in 2021. As I said again right here, it's titled, "The NFL Racist Race to Normalizing is an Afterlife of Slavery." They're normalizing this, everybody. I'm going to go back to this again. when it comes to players trying to get a settlement because of cognitive damage, because of playing the game due to head injuries, the NFL has officially ended a policy known as a race norming due to a civil rights lawsuit. Race norming is an assumption that black players had a lower cognitive function than white players. Now, I had to put that out there because this is where this is coming from. Now, you're going to say, oh, info, that's happened maybe 20, 30 years ago of the NFL, 40 years ago. No, sirree. That article came out in 2021. That's in the damn 21st century that we're all living in right now. Okay? There is a double standard. Like I said again, Shedeur Sanders, in my opinion, even with the fact that, let's say he didn't talk to a few teams here, maybe he didn't interview well. And the only reason why we think that he didn't do well in his interviews is because that's what they're telling you. If they were already, let's assume that they were already biased towards Shedeur because his father is Deion Sanders and they want to send him a message. If they were biased against them, how can we believe anything that they say when they the NFL couldn't even control the information that got out there to someone pranking Shedeur, his number? Everybody is saying, oh, this is the blame of the Atlanta Falcons and Jeff Albrecht and his son, Jack Albrecht. Yeah, it's their fault because he had this in his laptop. No, not his laptop. He had this in his tablet, okay, his iPad. That's how his son got to it. But the reason why that information got out because the information was put out there by the NFL. They put all that information out there, so they should be held accountable as well. Don't be fooled by them trying to change the narrative, everybody, about that issue. And I'm going to go further into that in just a little bit in this video. Don't go nowhere, okay? Now, the double standard is that you've had other quarterbacks. Now, you've had Baker Mayfield, who was originally drafted like Shedeur to the Cleveland Browns, right? He's playing with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's all the toast of town now. But this guy had a nasty background coming out of college. He was very disrespectful. He had very poor, what we call sportsmanship ability when he played against other teams. He's a guy that taunts other people, really nasty disposition, and even got himself in trouble with the law when he was in college and got himself all drunken and stupid up when he was at Oklahoma. But yet he didn't slide in the draft. He got picked still #1. And then when Cleveland picked him #1 in the draft that year, #1 pick in the draft that year that he came out, he was still having some issues on the team to the point that you still had the Cleveland management in the NFL making excuses for him, right? Well, let me go in here and show you, for example, exactly what we are talking about.
Today, police released video showing Oklahoma Sooner quarterback Baker Mayfield's arrest last month in Fayetteville, Arkansas. New tonight, Fox 23's Heather Geller has more after digging into that video. Baker Mayfield was booked into the Washington County Jail in Fayetteville, Arkansas last month. Mayfield was arrested for public intoxication, disorderly conduct, and fleeing and resisting arrest. In the video, you can hear officers questioning those who were involved in an altercation. Mayfield was said to have taken someone's food before breaking up a fight that took place. And you can hear officers tell the Sooner star to stop cussing in the background. Then Mayfield proceeds to try and run before taken down. He's then heard screaming, "I didn't do or say anything." And coming up on Fox 23 News at 10, I'll have a closer look at that dash cam video during sports.
So now, right there, Baker Mayfield has a nasty background. Now, that's just one example of this man's recklessness off the field. And even when he got drafted by the Cleveland Browns, he was a problem in their locker room and other players didn't like him. One of the things that bothers me is that they're sitting up here saying that Shedeur doesn't have a strong arm, that he's not as athletic. But damn it, when you turn on the film and you look at what he did, he led CU even when he didn't have a good offensive line. And don't let them lie to you, everybody. Shedeur Sanders never threw his teammates under the bus. I followed him for the last few years since I've had my Prime Sports Media channel. I've been following everything step of the way. No, he didn't. Now, they may tell you, well, when he got in a meeting with the NFL that, oh, yeah, he threw his – they already had an agenda. This is what people failed to understand. There was already agenda against him. Even if Shedeur would have participated in the combine, okay? Even if he would have spoke the King's English in those meetings, if these teams and these coaches already were biased towards him because of his swagger, his confidence that they deemed as cocky, they would have still had an issue. We're talking about a black man here. And don't get fooled by the fact that there's been black players drafted in this draft in the first round over the years that happen to be black. So effing what? Look how long it took for black quarterbacks to get the recognition that they're finally getting today. Look at how they looked at black quarterbacks with low IQ. Their history is not that pretty, everybody, and we must tell the truth. Let's go on, and that's Baker Mayfield before he got drafted to Cleveland, and he still went #1 in the draft despite his ills off the field, and Shedeur doesn't have that type of background. Now, let's see some more from this man, Baker Mayfield, who's now with Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Look at them talking about this man at the press conference to the coach and the general manager after a game when he was with Cleveland. Isn't this ironic?
He did have an arrest, and there were shenanigans on the field, and there have been stories about him even through the draft process that have not been real glowing. I mean,
you hear that? Do you hear what is being said there? There was rumors, or there was documented, that he had the issues with police off the field, that he's had shenanigans in the locker room, if I'm not mistaken, all sort of off the field issues that these folks don't want to deal with, that I'm prepared to deal with right here. So when y'all get to talking about Shedeur Sanders and what he did not do, what attitude he might have had to fall down, you've got white players who ain't no damn better than him, who were doing more serious shenanigans and still managed to not slide into the 5th round. Deal with what I'm saying, everybody, on these YouTube streets. Let's get back to this.
he did have an arrest, and there were shenanigans on the field, and there have been stories about him even through the draft process that have not been real glowing.
Right. You see right there, he's doing shenanigans on the field. Guess what? Baker Mayfield was doing the same thing when he played at Oklahoma, when he had a matchup against Texas. He did some horrible things in the middle of their 50-yard line to the Texas logo, right? He has done shenanigans on the field. He did this when he was in college. He brought the same thing to the NFL, and everybody in the NFL knew this. The reporters are also saying, hey, there was reports that he did shenanigans during the draft. And then y'all going to sit up here and tell me that Shedeur deserved to go in the 5th round when this guy wasn't engaging in any shenanigans whatsoever. Let's continue.
I mean, how do you address that, and will you put up with that stuff?
Well, first off, my faith says every man may deserve a second chance.
Here we go. Now, here goes the white daddy here for Baker Mayfield, saying that every man deserves a second chance. Why didn't Shedeur get a second chance and draft him in the proper area that he should have been drafted? This is the same team that took Baker Mayfield, who had problems, and then they turn around and draft Shedeur in the 5th round, 144. What type of BS is that? And Baker Mayfield was cutting up. And it doesn't end here, because I got some more for y'all. Let's continue. This is the Information Man Show. Nobody does it like me.
Okay. Have you ever been 19 before? Have you ever been 20 before? Okay. Young men do certain things. And you know what? They learn from that.
So why can't Shedeur Sanders get the same benefit of the doubt? If Shedeur Sanders made some mistakes in his interviews, maybe made some mistakes by not participating in the combine, doesn't he get the benefit of the doubt? Shouldn't he get the second chance? Shouldn't you guys look at Shedeur Sanders and say, hey, he's a young man who's not that old of an adult. He may be a little immature here and there. Y'all didn't give him that same benefit of the doubt. Y'all drafted him number 5, 144. But Baker Mayfield, y'all still drafted him number 1 that year.
And they'll learn from that. This guy.
He'll learn from it.
I like the guy. He's very mature. He's very smart.
No, he's not. The man had a problem with drinking, doing all kind of. Baker Mayfield is. You see how they're making excuses for the white quarterback when it comes to the black quarterback. We don't like the fact that he has a brand called Legendary.
And I bet you, we all learn from our mistakes. I learned from my mistakes in the past too, but I'm better today than I was a year ago. So I have no problems with, a young man being allowed to, understand the mistakes he is. Let's move forward.
See, you see how they're buffering for Baker Mayfield.
And let's, not do it again. That's how I look at it.
Just an idea of how thoroughly all that was vetted and what stones you guys unturned to make sure you were comfortable.
It was so thoroughly vetted, I can tell you there's order.
They didn't do a good job of vetting Baker Mayfield because Baker Mayfield was a complete disaster in Cleveland with his off-the-field behavior and on-the-field behavior. But yet they draft Shedeur in the 5th round. Treat him like he's lunch meat.
Just because the couple years were pretty tumultuous, but what do you say to people who say that Mayfield's, some of his behavior is reminiscent of Johnny Manziel?
Because Johnny Manziel was there in Cleveland and acted a damn fool, and they drafted him in the 1st round despite his off-the-field issues. You hear? I'm telling you all, this is the Information Man Show. I bring it.
Yeah. As I look at, I mean, you guys are going to try to create. I mean, here's how I look at this.
See, here comes the explaining.
All of our research
protect the
on
white
Baker
quarterback.
Mayfield. He is an individual that has earned it all the way through his life. As I look at this thing, whatever he has done from high school to college and now here, he has earned and really worked his way up.
Ooh, do y'all see the hypocrisy here, everybody? He's talking about, see, he reflects from the question to say, well, he has worked hard from college, from high school, as if Shedeur Sanders didn't work hard from high school to Jackson State, from Jackson State to CU, where he set the college scene on fire. You see the double standards? Nobody can deny what I'm showing you. Now, talking about Johnny Manziel, a blast from the past, once again, Cleveland, with dealing with their white quarterback prospects, they give him an opportunity when they F up. Shedeur didn't have any off-the-field issues. He's just being seen as too cocky of a black young man. He should be, see, you got to understand, in America, when black men are confident like this, we're supposed to be in our place and stay in the place of our plantation status that they have for us. Now, check this out, because here comes Johnny Manziel. Oh, I got more for y'all, everybody. Oh, I got more for you. Now, let's hear about Johnny Manziel. Johnny Manziel had all type of shenanigans off the field, even did something to his girlfriend where he assaulted her, was even talking about taking the woman's life at one point in time, all type of shenanigans. Before you had NIL, he was doing stuff where he was getting paid when he wasn't supposed to get paid for like autographs, all these things that players I think should get paid, but Johnny Manziel was breaking all types of NCAA rules. He was partying, getting drunk. The man had a serious problem, and guess what? He didn't come from no poor, broken family. Johnny Manziel came from a rich, prominent, well-known family in the Texas area. Listen to this right now.
He spent 10 weeks in a drug and alcohol treatment facility after his rookie season. In recent weeks, TMZ Sports showing the young quarterback out partying, even spotting Manziel leaving a Hollywood nightclub early this past Wednesday morning.
That's just a little bit of Johnny Manziel, who became a disaster in Cleveland. Now, they knew he had these issues, but Cleveland and the NFL, they still saw him as a top prospect. Now, he did drop from being drafted in the first 5 of the steps of the first round. He did fall out of the top 10, but guess what? He didn't fall to number 5. He didn't fall to number 6 in the draft. He didn't fall to number 7, meaning he didn't go to the 7th round. He didn't go to the 6th round, in the 5th round, or the 4th round. He didn't see, no. Johnny Manziel fell to the 15th pick in that draft that year that he came out. 15th pick to the Cleveland Browns in the 1st round. And then they set up here and draft Shedeur Sanders in the 5th round at 144, and he didn't have half the problems of these two jokers that they once had on his team. But it doesn't stop there, everybody. Here goes a little bit more.
He didn't want me to call you, but I think it's the right thing.
Chilling words from Colleen Crowley's neighbor in Fort Worth, Texas. It all started when Crowley and her ex-boyfriend, Johnny Manziel, met up at this Dallas hotel, and the night spiraled out of control. Dallas TV station WFAA reports that Crowley has since drafted an order of protection to be presented to a Texas judge. In that affidavit, Crowley told police she begged the valet to help as Manziel dragged her from the hotel. "Please don't let him take me. I'm scared for my life." To which the valet reportedly said he didn't know what to do.
Stop it right there. She said that she was scared for her life dealing with Johnny Manziel, who went number 15 in the first round of the NFL draft when he was drafted by Cleveland. You see what they just did? They devalued, underestimated, and marginalized Shedeur with drafting him number 5. They did it because they could get him on the cheap, of course, pay him less money, but they taught him, they were trying to teach him a lesson. And I think this is also a direct get back to Deion Sanders, because I don't think they liked the way Deion was talking about his son and how he felt that his son and Travis were going to go in that top 5 of this draft. I don't think they liked the cockiness. In their opinion, they saw it as cockiness or the reassurance of confidence. And then I also think that I don't think, when I look at this, that Coach Prime Deion Sanders has the friends that he thinks that he has in the NFL, everybody. I think they purpose, this is my opinion, I'm alleging this. I think that they gave Coach Prime bad information on purpose. They allowed Coach Prime to get on these podcasts and say the things that he said, when my opinion is, if these people really cared about Deion Sanders in the NFL, people that claim that they like the man, why didn't any of these general managers get on the phone, call him and say, look, we want to be frank with you, Coach Prime. We don't see your son as a top 10 quarterback prospect. We see him more as a 5th rounder, a 4th rounder, a 3rd rounder, or a 2nd rounder. And I think if they would have gotten proper information, maybe that would have changed maybe how Shedeur and Coach Prime would have been moving. That's just my opinion. They were talking, Coach Prime was talking in the sense that he's been told by NFL scouts where they saw Shedeur. I don't think Coach Prime said these things without having that knowledge, and I think that they tried to make them look bad. Now, people have said maybe collusion. I tend to believe that, but we can't prove it outright. But something is going on certainly here. Let me continue to break more things down about this Johnny Manziel, because double standard is what it is, everybody.
And let her leave with Manziel. In a police report obtained by News Channel 5, Crowley says Manziel was acting like he was on some kind of drugs and struck her several times on the drive to her apartment. When they got there, it escalated even more.
Wow, everybody.
Information is power.
Yeah, information is power, everybody. Let me say something to you. This is a man that was drafted in the 15th round with that type of baggage. Cleveland has had a history of making poor decisions at the quarterback position in terms of guys who come into the league with dirt and baggage. Shedeur didn't have any baggage. Now, let's get to the double standard of this NFL. So you got the Peyton Manning family, Archie Manning. When Eli Manning came into the league, they were emphatic about where he would play. They did not want Eli to go to San Diego because they didn't like the way San Diego handled the situation with Ryan Leaf, I think, who played in San Diego. They didn't like the way that they handled the Ryan Leaf situation. And they didn't like the organization, how they ran, how the organization was ran. And Archie Manning, who you see in the middle there, who played in the NFL, right? Lost a lot of games. He ain't even nowhere near the pedigree of a Coach Prime, okay, at all. But Archie Manning, because of his, he had 2 sons, Peyton Manning on the left side, who was a great player in the NFL. He was able to maneuver his son to where he wanted him to be, and nobody called him cocky. Nobody gave them any pushback. They did it. They did what they wanted. But when it came to Coach Prime, he couldn't have the same outlook that Archie Manning can. Is it because Coach Prime doesn't have the paint job that Archie Manning has? Is it that Archie Manning is white and he's white and he's right and he's whatever he says is right? Is that the attitude? Is that the double standard that we have here? Because Archie Manning didn't have nowhere near the cachet that Coach Prime has. Now, people are saying it's because, well, Eli Manning had the cachet that Shedeur didn't have as a player coming out, right? But I'm not buying that, because in the beginning, everyone in this world knew that Shedeur was a pro-type quarterback. He had all the attributes in terms of toughness, leadership, and the whole 9 yards. But let me let you see, because a lot of you out there have forgotten this history, let me let you see how really nasty Archie Manning, okay, how really nasty he was in comparison to Coach Prime, who later on, Coach Prime took back a lot of things that he said in some of those podcasts and said, look, I'm at a point where I'm willing for my son to play for whoever is interested in him. And of course, people are saying, isn't it ironic that the Cleveland Browns is the team that picked Shedeur when that was one of the main teams that Coach Prime Deion Sanders really wasn't looking for Shedeur to be picked by that team. That was one of the teams on their list that they didn't want him to be at. But now he's there. Shedeur is making the best of it. He's getting himself ingratiated into the community. I think he's going to do good things there, okay? I think he's going to do good things there. But what I want to do is I want y'all to see the video footage that really exemplifies the double standard. Coach Prime doesn't have a right on a podcast or anything to be able to say where he would possibly like his son. It's his son, everybody. But when it came to Archie Manning and the Manning family, oh, they can say whatever they want. No problem, because they're white. You see? I just got to keep it real because it's the truth. Watch this video. This is some old school stuff right here, y'all. Check this out. This goes back. And check it out.
Was uncomfortable with the Chargers organization. San Diego brought Eli in for a workout before the draft. He tried to tell them privately, please don't draft me, but it got leaked to the media that
Boom, stop it right there. He already told them, please don't draft me. Pro football, now it's official. Manny dislikes the Chargers. This is out of the New York Times. So why is it that he got, now people are going to say, well, he got a pass because he was a really good prospect. Shedeur ain't as good as him. Eli Manning. This is a damn shame, everybody. Let's continue.
Manning didn't want to go there.
Gladly play in San Diego.
He's trying not to smile.
So the Chargers knew Eli didn't want to play for them, but weren't going to trade him unless they got a trade package they thought.
Right, so this is what happened. His father, Archie Manning, they was able to push the issue on draft day. They had already made it known before the draft that they didn't want to go to San Diego. San Diego says, look, we want to be compensated too. Let's continue, everybody. Let's continue.
Was fair. San Diego was
This is
willing
fair
to draft
use,
Eli, despite the risk of him not suiting up for them.
The Chargers call your name when I talk to you after the pick. Will you be wearing a Chargers hat?
I don't know. We'll see what happens.
The Giants held the 4th overall pick in the draft and absolutely loved Manning, but they didn't think they would be able to pull off a trade for him. So the night before the
So they did pull off a trade for him. Let me end it right there. Everybody, I'm telling you the damn honest truth. That's what happened. He didn't want to play for the San Diego Superchargers at that time when they were in San Diego. He was able to force a trade to the Giants. The rest is history. Nobody really, there was a few boos by San Diego Chargers fans, but outside of that, nobody said, let's treat this white man, this white father, Archie Manning and Eli Manning. Let's teach them a lesson. He's too cocky. He's coming into the lead, telling us what he wants to do, laying down the terms of how he's going to play in the NFL. Nobody had a problem with it. He got away with it, and the rest is history. Now, let me show you another piece of history that people have forgotten about right here. Remember John Elway, who came out of Stanford, played for his father, Jack Elway? They said, no way, Jose, we're not going to play for the Baltimore Colts at all. He forced a trade from the Colts, told the Colts that he would not play for them at all, dictating the terms of the situation. His father dictated the terms over here. Jack Elway, nobody gave him any pushback, and Elway was able to force the Baltimore Colts, okay, to trade him to the Denver Broncos. And the reason why he was able to get away with that, because just like Deion Sanders, he was a two-sport star. He was able to say, look, if y'all draft me, Baltimore, I'm going to go play baseball, because there were a lot of people that thought he was going to play baseball, okay? So John Elway and his father, they were not having it, because him and his father had a strong bond, just like Shedeur Sanders and his father have a strong bond. What's wrong with the bond of a black father and his black son trying to make a decision that they feel is best for the son, and he gets penalized for it by going in the 5th round, number 144, but nobody to this very day has a problem with what John Elway and his daddy pulled off, because once again, they're white and they're right and they say so. When they make their movement and they make their demands known, you're supposed to X, you X. You're supposed to do what they want. And when it comes to the black man and his son and his family, nah. Y'all ain't got the right to dictate the terms. Everybody, as I said before, thought that, as I should show right here, that either he would go 1 or 2 or 3 or somewhere in the sense of where him and Cam Ward would go. Cam Ward went number 1 to Tennessee. The rest is history. But then we got these kind of individuals like Johnny Manziel, who came into the NFL with a lot of bad baggage. He dropped to the 15th pick, but he still got guaranteed money. They gave this man guaranteed money with the 15th pick, given his baggage. Right here, Baker Mayfield had baggage, still managed to get picked number 1 in the draft and get that number 1 drafted money. While at the same time, Shedeur Sanders is made to languish for the next couple of days, a few days, before he gets picked up number 144 in the draft. And now he's got to make a team that has a crowded quarterback room, okay? He's going to get no money. He literally, Shedeur has made more money with NIL at Colorado than he's going to make in the NFL. That's weird to me, but this is what has taken place. Okay, now, let me now enlighten you about something else that has been bothering me, okay? It's really bothering me, is this whole thing. No, let me stop right there. Let me put this up on the screen right here. Yes, it is true that John Elway and his father, Jack, were unwilling to play for the Baltimore Colts after the team selected Elway with the 1st overall pick in 1983 NFL draft. Okay, Elway publicly stated that his desire to play baseball with the New York Yankees rather than join the Colts. Okay, Elway refusal, even before the draft, Elway made clear he was not interested in playing for the Colts. This is even before the damn draft, and nobody gave this man any hate, any pushback, or anything. This shows you the double standard. Check this out right here. NFL draft takes away an honest discussion about Shedeur Sanders. I think this is why teams saw Sanders carrying out that his father, Colorado coach Deion Sanders, said he would in trying to steer himself away from certain places. The idea for a top pick isn't the worst concept. It's something Eli Manning did a generation ago. The problem is that Sanders was not considered the prospect he was built up to be by the people who matter. That's the NFL. Because like I said, I think that the NFL gave Coach Prime bad information? Why didn't someone from the NFL, hell, even Roger Goodell himself, why didn't they pick up the phone and just simply tell him, if this is true, that he wasn't going to be in the first round? Why not tell the father something so that Shedeur would not be treated with embarrassment, right? He would not be treated as such. Why did they do that to that young man when they could have easily picked up the phone? And the reason why they didn't pick up the phone and tell Coach Prime the truth, if that's really how they felt, is because, once again, they wanted to do what? Send a message to both Coach Prime and Shedeur as part of their ritual of what? Humiliation. As I've said before on my sports channel, the Prime Sports Media channel. Check it out. Now, let me show you something else. Remember, he got prank called by some sucker, Jeff Albrecht's son, Jack Albrecht, did a prank on him, and there's another kid that was involved in this, a white kid, and you don't see his face anywhere. Check this out. Check this out, everybody. So, right, this is Jeff Albrecht's son, right? You don't see his face. Now, you can look at him and tell he looks like he's biracial. You don't see his face plastered you see his face plastered around, but you don't see this white boy's face plastered around, who was the one who actually made the phone call to Shedeur Sanders to lie to him, to try to ruin his draft day and embarrass him. That white boy was the one that made the call. That's Jeff Albrecht's son to the left. Jeff Albrecht, who played for the 49ers as a linebacker, right? Defensive coordinator. NFL finds the Falcon Jeff Albrecht over his son's prank call to Shedeur. This is the bullshit, though. The NFL had a lot to do with this because it was the NFL that put out all that information, put players' numbers out there, okay? They had people like equipment managers and everybody and their mama that could see these numbers of these players, because there were other players that got pranked as well that day. But Shedeur was the most prominent that got pranked because the NFL, because they didn't handle the information. The coach, the general manager, only a few people should have that personal information. Jeff Albrecht is not even an offensive coordinator. He's not a quarterback coach. He's not even the head coach or the owner of the Falcons. He shouldn't have never had that information any damn way. Right? And if they weren't going to draft Shedeur, why did they have that information where a defensive coordinator had his information enough for his son and his foolish friend to get their hands on it? The NFL is the blame for this because they were putting out the information and sending it to everybody within the NFL biosphere, and now it turned bad on them. And check this out. Let's look at the video that started all the bullshit right here.
Hey, is this Shedeur? Hey, this is Mickey Loomis here, the GM of the New Orleans Saints. How you doing? This is Mickey Loomis here, GM of the Saints.
I hate what's happening right now.
How you doing? Good. How are you, man? Good. Been waiting on you. Yeah, we have. It's been a long wait, man. We're gonna take you with our next pick right here, man. But you're gonna have to wait a little bit longer, man. Sorry about that.
See this? So they're lying to him, making him think that he's the general manager of the New Orleans Saints. He got this number from his father's iPad. Shedeur had a brand new number. The NFL spread this information to all personnel within the NFL. So everybody and their mama had Shedeur's number that shouldn't have had his number, because the NFL is the one that effed up in the first place because Jeff Albrecht should have never had that number in the first place for his son to get his hands on, because the NFL put information out that too many people should have never had in the first place. And Jeff Albrecht should have secured that information in the first place. And he's a defensive coordinator, didn't have no business having that number in the first place when he ain't the damn offensive coordinator, let alone the coach of the damn team. But look at how they laugh and jump up and down and enjoy. And this is the thing that bothers me. There should be criminal charges pressed for this nonsense. There should be some type of civil charge that should be able to be pressed against them. And this white boy up here, his face should really be plastered around for everybody to see, y'all. Here we go. They're laughing, saying that Shedeur brought it. He brought it. He brought it. You see the foolishness here? So he was already disrespected being drafted number 144, and then he's disrespected even more by what they did to him with this. They calling it a prank. I'm calling it pure bullshit. Oh. And then here, for those of you out there that think that this didn't really happen, let me let you hear this prank call from the perspective of watching Shedeur Sanders take the phone call. And you could tell his family at the end of this realized that he had been pranked, that he had been, and you see Shedeur Sanders saying, man, I'm about to crash out. Why did they do this? I want y'all to check this out right here, right now.
We have, it's been a long wait, man.
No, for sure.
We're going to take you with our next pick right here, man.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Let's be legendary.
But you're going to have to wait a little bit longer, man.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Ready to go. What does that mean?
See,
what?
This is
What
wrong.
did he say? I don't know. How you going to ask us what it means and you was on the phone? You heard that? He said you're going to have to wait a little.
This is wrong on so many levels. This is insult to already injury.
Sorry about that. What the fuck? I don't know what that was. It's 50-50.
It was BS. Shedeur, they were pranking you. They were trying to make what was a very difficult period of time for you, waiting to get drafted, seeing how you dropped out of the first round. Then they wanted to play around with you. The NFL put your number out, as other players also got pranked on that day. They put your number out and had it in the hands of too many people. And Jeff Albrecht should have known better, because, ladies and gentlemen, Jeff Albrecht, from what I understand in my research, that they put confidentiality on the papers that they had these numbers on. So Jeff Albrecht knew that it was confidential what he had in his hands, and he should have secured it to the point that only he could look at it, not his son, not his family members, and frankly, not his son's friend, who was the one who made the call. But yet, we don't even know this white boy's name. We don't even see his face being plastered. However, they did plaster Jeff Albrecht's son, because it was his son who was in the house and had access to something that he should have never had access to in the freaking, should I say, first place, everybody. First place. Let's get back to this right now.
Nobody got this number, though.
See? Nobody's got the number.
Did they just troll, bro? Okay. Man, he just got trolled, bro. They tripping now, man. Now I'm gonna crash out, bro.
And you can see Shedeur Sanders saying, now I'm about to crash out. This whole thing is embarrassing on so many different levels. Now, with that said, let me play a video for you that I think was very unique. I got to give a lot of shout out to my man, Carmelo Anthony. He has a podcast, and he has some things to say. Melo said, and Neighbors, who plays for the Giants, who's a great receiver, said, we're hot. Shedeur Sanders slipped to the 5th round of the NFL draft. He was a talk of the top 2 quarterbacks in his class. Monique Neighbor said he was the talk of his class, and that is true. Let me now let y'all see the actual video clip of this. Here we go. This is fair use, fair use.
Brought a lot of people to Jackson State that never knew about Jackson State, about football.
Put them on the map. Changed a lot of family
lives. Then went to Colorado, where nobody was even looking at Colorado like that, and having all these people look at them play and do what he did, and then do him like that. Like, come on, bro. Y'all know y'all weren't supposed to. This
they
boy
was wrong.
Was the talk of the top 2 quarterbacks in his class. There's no way in hell he go fit around.
This is the part of the game that's whack. You know, we're always talking about the dark side of sports. This is an attack at Prime, in a sense. Like, but it's an attack on a black family. Like, and a black man who raised his young men to be
Facts.
men. You get what I'm saying? Prime ain't.
This is a fact. What Carmelo Anthony is saying. Remember, he played in the NBA, had a great NBA career.
Do nothing wrong. You don't hear nothing bad about Shedeur. None of them boys, or the girls. Like, you don't hear nothing bad about them.
Mm-hmm.
They straight. They do what they do. They handle their business. They take care of business. This is a family business over here. So the fact that you don't like how I run my family business, you could say that about any other family business.
Right. As I said, the Manny family ran their family business, right? His sons made demands about where they were going to play. John Elway and his father made demands about where they were going to play. It was their family business. So why is it not family business for the Sanders? Y'all get my point now? You see what I'm saying? Let's get back to it.
Out there. You get what I'm saying? Just because it's in sports and Prime is he's in a seat that a lot of people want that seat. And he's doing it his way. And he's talking his talk. And he's proving it step by step. It ain't about winnings and losses with me. It's about developing these young boys into young men. This is what we seeing. You can't go from being, he's one of the two picks. He's number one or number two pick to just falling off the draft board.
Yeah.
That's a lot of conversations. That's a lot of shit. That's a lot of phone calls. Yo, don't take it. Now they want to make it about his interviews. Like, get the fuck out of here.
Nah, bro.
You know how many fucked up interviews just say NFL in general. You know how many fucked up niggas came to the NFL?
Yeah.
Thank you, Carmelo Anthony. There's been a ton of people who had screwed up interviews and didn't fall like that. And as I've already proved to you, there's been people that have come into the league, like quarterbacks who had also problems off the field with the law, with drinking, substances, and behavior problems.
Had fucked up interviews?
Red flags all over.
Come on, bro. Now then they want to say he couldn't read the play. Like, what the fuck are y'all talking about now?
Come on, man.
You got to have an eye test, too.
Yeah.
He can play.
That's what it is.
You get what I'm saying? You can't keep raising the bar.
Right.
Fact, they're raising the bar because it's Shedeur Sanders' father. They're trying to send a message to Shedeur that he's not running things. They want to send a message to Coach Prime that he ain't running things, that they're running things. And if you know anything about the NFL, everybody, the NFL is a league that's run by white men who are the owners of these football teams, and they like to have complete control of their product. They just want the black players to just play football. Play football, shut up, collect your checks, but they want to be in full control. And I know everybody's been saying, hey, this is about a job interview. When you go on a job interview, you got to be at your best and all of that. Right. I'm sure that there's things that Shedeur did that he wants to take back, certain mistakes that he made that he would like to take back. I get it. But his mistakes are not mistakes like these other players that have come in the lead where they've done criminal activity. They've gotten in trouble with the law. They are pissing off the players on the team in their locker room. Guys that, in the case of Cleveland, have had to trade or either release off the roster because of poor behavior. Shedeur don't bring that kind of baggage. Let's continue.
On him every single time. Oh, he can't go. He can't run out the pocket. Can't scramble. What you mean? Go watch the film. Right. He's tackled every issue that everybody said he couldn't do. And because of that, his receivers are successful. Deion, the first thing he said when he got to Colorado, I got to get an old line.
Yep.
I'm invested in the old line. This is things that people not taking account for. Like I'm just fucked up about it because he's never did nothing wrong. So we seeing what, we love the vibe. Y'all love the shit when they're in Colorado and all the cameras is dead. And they, they love this. They love the shit.
Lil Wayne there with the hoodie on.
They love it. They love it until they don't love it. You get what I'm saying? Like, you can't be 1 foot in and 1 foot out with that. This is a new game. This is a new generation. This is new energy that's.
There it is right there. I just wanted to give you a little taste of that. Carmelo Anthony was dropping science. Malik Neighbors was dropping science, the receiver for the Giants, who didn't like what took place. And I'm sure that there's a lot of other NFL players, particularly black players, who I'm pretty sure they got on the phone and they gave Shedeur a phone call and said, look, we saw what happened to you. We know it's BS, but we got your back. We're gonna support you and keep your head up. All you got to do is get in there, work hard, get your head in the playbook, and win the starting position in Cleveland. And I think he can win a starting position in Cleveland because the quarterbacks that are there ahead of him, they ain't that great. Deshaun Watson's got all kind of problems. Flacco is an old dude who needs to go back into retirement. And Gabriel, who they drafted in the 3rd round ahead of him, he ain't better than Shedeur. And Kenny Pickett, who got booted out of Pittsburgh, he ain't better than Shedeur. So we're going to see everybody. I appreciate everybody watching the program. Let me put one other thing up. This is from Dak Prescott. I don't know how y'all feel about what he's about to say right here, but let me put this back up here again and let y'all see what I'm talking about. Dak Prescott on Shedeur Sanders an NFL draft slide. It's a business, he says. He says the Dallas Cowboys quarterback who knows a thing or two about being overlooked often he was a candidate defense of the Colorado Star, and he's defending the situation. Basically, Prescott is saying that the draft fall isn't about talent, but it's about business. I don't agree with him. He says Shedeur draft position slip. It's a machine, he said. I don't think it's fair, but you got to respect and understand that the NFL is basically a business, everybody. And Prescott, who was a 4th round pick in 2016, despite a strong college resume, he understood how off the field narratives can affect the draft status. And that's true, but I don't agree with him in this case, to be quite honest, everybody, at all. With that said, everybody, we're going to get ready to get out of here. I appreciate everybody watching the video. Subscribe to the channel. Thank you to all the new subscribers. This is the Information Man Show. You know that when I do a video like this, I bring receipts. That's the difference. Some people talk about these things, but they don't back it up with the receipts. I do. With that said, everybody, y'all take care. Y'all know I always say this. Tell somebody that you love them because you never know. Peace.
Information is power.